Look, I get it. I'm totally spoiled. I can recognize that. But I blame Ducati. Let me explain what I mean. The single-sided swing arm. Very common on Ducati, Triumph, and BMW, even though BMW has a shaft drive, so it's even easier with that. If I need to remove the wheel to change the tire, it's one nut. One nut, the wheel comes off, the disc, the caliper, the chain, everything stays on the swing arm. I take the wheel away, I change the tire, I come back, I put it back on, one nut. Everything's perfectly aligned, it's clean, it's easy, it's simple. But the bike that sees the most tire changes by a big margin, the bike that has the rear wheel coming on and off constantly, the brilliant, amazing RSV4/Tuono. Link in the corner for a video about how this bike became to be. This bike has a traditional swing arm. That means every time I change the tire, the axle has to come out, I have to deal with the chain, I have to get the disc and the caliper cleared away, and you have to wiggle it out. You change the tire, you come back, you gotta wiggle it back in, you gotta get the chain. It's this whole thing. Yes, I'm spoiled. I admit it. I can recognize it myself. Self-awareness, it's a beautiful thing. Well, today the complaining stops, because today we're gonna fix this. This is a rear quick change kit from a company out of the UK called L74. No affiliation. I paid for this with my own money. They are not sponsoring this, and I have no idea how good the product is. And a rear axle that uses reverse threads, and we're gonna talk about that in a second too. But you're gonna help me install this today. You know what's next? It's time to put the bike on the table and put the apron on. All right, we're gonna start off by removing the rear wheel. Obviously, we gotta get that out of the way. I'm gonna share a few tips and tricks with you that make getting the wheel on and off a little easier. One of them is, if you can, you run the axle in from the other direction. By running the axle in the opposite direction, putting the nut on the other side, when we tighten it, we're actually pulling the wheel forward in towards the adjusters, so it maintains chain alignment. Not all bikes let you do this, but this is a common trick from the racetrack, and it's on there tight as balls. One of the things that makes changing your wheel on a bike like this with the traditional swing arm is all this weight you're trying to hold up in the air, get the axle into place, hold the caliper on the rotor, and getting the chain around the, I even went and bought this cute little thing from Pitbull that helps put the wheel at the right height. I think this actually made it worse. This thing is a piece of junk. Don't ever buy this thing. I love Pitbull stands, but this is a stupid idea. All right, I know this is gonna upset some of you, but yeah, I tap the axle with a dead blow loaded hammer so I can grab it and pull it out. It's not that big of a deal. Don't normally like to use the little ugga-dugga, but with something like this where it's flopping around, the little ugga-dugga makes life a little easier. Looks like it'd be an 8. No, fucking 7? A 7mm? Who has a 7mm? Jeez, Aprilia. That's a weird one. 7mm. I have to replace these rear adjusters. My rear adjusters are used for the rear swing arm stand, so I'm gonna have to find another way to support the back of the bike so I can swap these out. Okay, we have the front of the bike strapped down, block of wood under the sump. We're not going up a lot, just enough that I can replace those rear carrier things. It always makes me nervous, but I think we're up. All right, now we can move the rear stand and those carriers. I mean, that's not sketchy at all, is it? It's pretty stable. It looks terrible. Be nervous, be careful. It scares the crap out of me. Ooh, these have a nice detent in them too. Listen to that. See, you question why these things are so expensive, but then you get this little very positive detent. When you're adjusting your chain and you want to get it perfect, or you just want to move it a little bit, 1 click, 2 clicks, man, that's nice. Lightech is always been known for really high quality products. Since there are no instructions anywhere, I shall share what I have learned. These spacers go in here. The hook for the swing arm stand goes on top of those with the 2 bolts. We flip it over, and then it threads into this, and that is how it is assembled. And then the whole assembly goes into the swing arm with the hook on the back, and we use this bolt in the same position and thread in. The exhaust side is slightly more complicated because we have to get the collar in, and then we assemble everything. Spacer, spacer, and then the hook from the back to hold it in place. And we are definitely going to be Loctiting all of these. This is one of the few situations where I will actually happily use a ball end. In most cases, I'm trying to avoid them, and I certainly won't tighten it with the ball end. We'll just get it snug. Okay, so why hooks instead of buttons, you may ask? That's a really great question. Buttons, which are on most sport bikes, they do have a fatal flaw. People often sometimes even put those big frame swing arm sliding buttons. Bad idea. The reason why is in a fall, what happens is these buttons tend to snag the ground, hit the dirt or whatever, and it'll tear. It'll rip the bolt, it'll rip the threads out of this thing, it'll break this thing off. If it's on the swing arm itself, it'll rip the swing arm apart. Buttons, bad. And if you are running buttons, run the lowest profile ones you can. Hooks, however, not only are they far faster and quicker to get on to deploy the rear stand because you just hook the buttons and lift the bike. In a fall, if this were to snag, which it's less likely to snag, but if it were to snag, you're damaging this part. This part, these Light Tech adjusters, they're $200. Swing arm, more than $200. So this can total your motorcycle. This is like, oh, well, I'll buy another set. If you have the option for hooks instead of buttons, I strongly recommend them. I think they are awesome. If for no other reason, then it's just easier to get the bike up on the swing arm stand. All right, the next step is going to be installing the brake caliper mount. This is, it's located on this collar and the adjusting pin, and the brake will just attach right here. So everything will be in its proper location. Nothing will be flopping around. The important part are these 2 little grub screws. We got to make sure they're good and snug. I will probably pull them out and put some Loctite on them as well. I would hate to lose them. This is a grub screw, in case you're wondering, because it looks like a little grub worm. Isn't that gross? And now, I'm assuming we're just going to put the brake caliper up into place. It's nice. That's an Allen key. What was that before? A 7mm? Who uses 7mm? But an Allen key, everybody has an Allen key. Next, we need to replace the ABS ring. This has a little bit of a lip here. This one does not. This one's totally flat. Very straightforward, this step. The black ring looks a little nicer anyway. It's stealthy. This is specific to Aprilia, but we want to take some of this excess thread off these nuts. So I'm just going to use a flap wheel and a lot of caution. Shortening the bolts on the sprocket. Nothing to be afraid of. It's just a bolt. If it gets damaged, you take it out, you put a new one in. I think we're almost done now. All right, now this is the scary part. This little bracket needs to be drilled and tapped into the swing arm. Its role is it sits right here, and then the carrier rides on this to sit at the correct height so we can run the axle in. This is the no margin for error part. This is also my big complaint about this kit so far. $1,000 for this kit, and they didn't give me a drill or the proper tap. They didn't even tell me the size of the drill or the size of the proper tap. They just gave me 2 bolts. It's a little frustrating. $1,000, I think they could give us a tap and a drill of the correct size. We're gonna use the center punch to punch a dimple through the holes on the bottom so I know where to drill, because this is one shot. It's good to know a machinist. I was able to determine easy enough that it's a 5mm bolt. Called my buddy, he said to use a 4.3mm drill bit, and then he also had the appropriate tap for me, actually a very high-end appropriate tap, which much nicer than the tap I was going to use. Now it's just hoping that everything goes smoothly. Get this nice and goopy with some cutting oil. Oh, that was way more goop than I needed. And just slow and steady. In a little, out a little. I expect that's plenty deep. All right, let's do the next one. Looks like it worked. Woohoo! Definitely using Loctite on these two little guys. There we go. I think now we can safely put this back. Put our little shark fin back into place. Keep toes out of the chain is what this little guy does. Hopefully, never even get close to that, but I can't in good conscience take it off. Let me explain what I think is gonna happen. There's a little shelf here, and now we have this little shelf here. So when we roll the wheel in, there are two captured spacers on the wheel. They will sit and rest on this so that the axle is aligned. And now we're gonna test this out and see if it was worth the cost and the hassle. I am definitely gonna put the swing arm stand back into place. Oh, totally different widths. Using my metric crescent wrench, because I believe everything Pitbull does is SAE, which makes perfect sense. You build a product for mostly European and Japanese motorcycles, metric motorcycles. Why wouldn't you use SAE standard hardware on a product designed to be used on metric vehicles? Little moto life hack here, and I recommend everybody do this. It's probably hard to see on camera, but the leading edge of both of these rear brake pads are beveled at a 45-degree angle. And the reason for this is when you are trying to fight that rear wheel back into place, the 45-degree angle allows the rotor to hit those 45-degree angles and it'll slide in between the pads. So much easier than when it's a square edge, the rotor hits the, you know, if you've ever changed a rear wheel, you know. Cut your rear brake pads, the leading edge, 45-degree angle. You will thank me every time you change your rear tire for the rest of your life. Huge lifesaver, great little racer trick right there. Moto life hack. First time, it says to practice. Oh, so far that's easier. That was the very first time I put it in. Lifting it up into place is not significantly easier. You still have to kind of weed it in and get the chain around the sprocket. I suspect I'm gonna get better at it as I do it more often, which you do it all the time with the track bike. However, the fact that the wheel is sitting here in place without the axle, it's sitting on those little trays, everything's lined up, the axle should just slide into place with significantly less swearing and cursing and sweating than what would normally transpire. One of the things I didn't mention at the beginning of the video is a big reason why I'm doing this is the Army wasn't kind to my back. One thing to do this on the table, that's fine, but when I'm at a track day trying to do this on the ground, it kills my back. So I'm really hoping that this makes my life a little easier and decreases some of that military back pain. But we're not done yet. We still gotta put the axle in and get everything lined up. And I'm guessing you wanna stick around for that? Let's give that a try. Okay, so the axle. The axle is a little bit different. It has this cup on the end so you can pull it out quicker and easier. You'll also notice at the tip, it's tapered and it has this nice little cone in the beginning to help it go into place. The biggest difference is it is reverse threaded. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's better to tighten it forward. And that takes the wheel and it pushes it forward against the adjusters. You end up with a better chain alignment. This is gonna take us a minute to put in for the first time. These chain adjusters are all out of whack. I kind of just guessed them. We're gonna have to measure and align the chain. But so far, nice kit. The more expensive ones can be upwards of $3,000. So if you take that into consideration, $1,000 is a bargain. Let's get this axle in. I guess the axle went right in. We still need to adjust the chain and snug things down, but that wasn't bad. That's way better than the old axle. I can say that. You use a socket to turn the nut here on this side, and it says right here, reverse threads, so you don't forget. And then the nut on the other side is captured inside the chain adjuster, so you never have to worry about a nut. Again, one less thing to like drop and have it like go skittering across the garage. This uses a 24 millimeter. I'm gonna use a ratchet. We're just gonna turn it in slow. Reverse threads though. Let's get turn this way, go in. And installed the L74 quick change carrier. It's not quick change like a World Superbike Daytona quick change, but compared to a traditional swing arm, it's quick change. Wasn't that bad. The scariest part was drilling the 2 holes, tapping them. That turned out just fine. I'm pretty impressed. It's not cheap, but you know, back pain kind of sucks, and anything that kind of helps mitigate back pain is worthwhile. And even if you're not considering a quick change kit, these Light-Tech adjusters with the micro adjustments on the axle and the detents in the adjusting screw, they made adjusting the chain just a breeze. It took just a minute to get the chain to the perfect tension and perfectly aligned, so super nice. Thank you for helping me install the quick change carrier. It's the first one I've ever done. I think it went quite well. We worked together as a team. It was a lot of fun, I thought. Good end result. Thank you for watching. Ride on and ride well.